Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello everyone, this is Muhammad Imran. In the previous lecture, we had an introduction to style, while today's lecture focuses on stylistics. We'll shed light on what is stylistic, its various definitions, meanings, interpretation, and different concepts related to the term stylistics. The lecture is very relevant to those particularly who take interest in the field of stylistic and who want to conduct their future researches in the subject stylistic. So let's begin our lecture. What is stylistics? So what is stylistics? Stylistics is a broad term that has assumed different meanings from different linguistic scholars, but it can simply be said to be the study of style. So we can define stylistic as the study of style. When you want to study the style of particular author or particular work, so you're doing what? You're doing stylistics. Definition of stylistics. Stylistics is also defined as a study of different styles that are present either a given utterance or a written text or documents. So in stylistics, you are studying the style. The style of what? The style of an utterance, how an utterance is uttered, or the style of a written text, how a written text is produced, or the style of a document, how a document is framed. So the consistent appearance of certain structure, you are going to study that what kind of structures are repeatedly appear, or why certain kind of structures have been adopted by the text producer or the person who wrote, who produced this text. So the consistent appearance of certain structure, item, and elements in speech, utterance, or in a given text is one of the major concern of stylistics. So then we can say that you are going to study the style of a text in order to investigate what kind of consistent structures, syntactic structures, or phrase structures, or choice of words, or item, or elements in speech, utterance, or in a given text have been produced. So it is one of the major concern of stylistics to investigate what the consistent structure items, lexical item, phonological item, graphological item, semantics items, syntactic items. So you are going to find out certain or such kind of consistent structures in a text. So that is one of the main concern of stylistics, and this is what stylistician they do, or this is what a researcher does. Right? So this is the work of a researcher. Stylistics. Again, stylistics is concerned with the study of language of literature. So in stylistics, we also study the language of literature, that how language is used in a novel, how language is used in a poem, how language is used in an essay, how language is used in prose writing. So stylistic then is also concerned with the study of the language of literature, or the study of the language habit of particular author and the writing pattern. Or stylistics is also concerned to study the language habit of particular author. Now sometimes we don't know the author of a work, but when we study when we read a play, when we read a novel, when we read a poem, so from the language habit we can recognize that whose work this can be. For example, in the past you have read so many plays of Shakespeare, and you pick another one and you don't know that who wrote this play, and when you read, so from reading or from language habit, you know that this is the work of Shakespeare. Now, what is language habit? For example, the syntactic structure of an author, the choice of words of an author, or the order of sentences of an author, of writing paragraph an author, or if it is a poem, so you can know that what kind of style usually a particular author or a particular poet adopts. So these are the language habit. So one author or one point language habits are different from other poet or author. So then stylistics is also concerned to study the language habit of particular author or their writing pattern. Now, from the foregoing, stylistic can be said to be the techniques of explication, which allow us to be defined objectively what an author has done, linguistic or non-linguistic, in his use of language. So then we do what in stylistic? It's a technique. Stylistic is a technique of explication which allow us to define objectively what an author has done. Or it can be like something like in linguistic or non-linguistic work in his use of language. The main aim of stylistic is to enable us understand the intent of the author in the manner the information has been passed across by the author or writer. So then the main aim of a stylistic is because it's a technique, and it is stylistics which enable us to understand what are the intentions of the author that he provides or he conveys us such and such information through this manner. Because there can be different manners through which a writer or through which an author can convey information to us. And that is the style, that is the pattern. And he has an intention when a writer, when a poet, or when an author conveys us some information or a piece of writing. So we study the intention of an author or a poet, that why he has or she has adopted such manner in writing such and such work. Now, therefore, stylistics is concerned with the examination of grammar, lexical, semantics, as well as phonological properties and discursive devices. Now, stylistic is more interested in the significance of function that the chosen style fulfill. So this is another part, that therefore stylistic is concerned with the examination of grammar. We examine the grammar, and this is the grammar through which we know that why through this manner, for example, the writer may choose active voice, the writer may use passive voice. Or sometime the agent or the subject might be disappeared. So this is the way, this is the manner through which a writer or a poet or an author write a piece of literature or a piece of language. So then we do what? We examine the grammar of the text, we grammar the lexic, we examine the semantic, as well as phonological properties and the discursive devices. Now, stylistics is more interested in the significance of function rather than form. One, we have form of language, and one, we have function of language. So form can be the same, but functions can be different, right? So sometime then the writer use different kind of forms in order to produce different kind of function. Because when you change the form, so you can also change the function, right? So that's why there's stylistics is more concerned or more interested in the significance of function that the chosen style fulfill. What kind of function is fulfilled by the chosen style of an author or a writer? So we are defining stylistics from different angles and from different perspectives. Again, stylistics is often defined as the study of literary text. So when we define stylistic, it is the study of literary text. using linguistic techniques. But again, when you study a literary text, so you will be using linguistic techniques. Now, the techniques of linguistics are applicable to both literary and non-literary texts. So these techniques, linguistic techniques, when you're doing research, conducting research, so these linguistic techniques can be used or can be applied to both literary texts and non-literary texts. When we say literary texts, so we are talking about novel, drama, poetry, etc. When we talk about non-literary texts, so we are talking about conversation, talk shows, newspaper writing, or like everyday life language. So statisticians have focused more on the analysis of literary texts with the aim to understand the working of what is defined socio-culturally as literature. So more concern or more focus of statistician had and have on literary text, right? What is the aim when they focus literary text? The aim is to understand the working of what is defined socio-culturally as literature, because literature is framed in a social and cultural setup. Stylistics is primarily linguistic in orientation. So if we know about stylistic, we know it because of linguistics. It emerged out of the discipline of language study formalized in early 20th century as linguistics. So it came out from linguistic. It is based on the principle of linguistic and thus aimed to be objective, rigorous, and replicable. As we know that linguistic is also objective, so then stylistics is also objective. And stylistic is based on three main principles. One is objective. When you study or you come to the conclusion and someone else come to the conclusion, so you will come to the same conclusion. This is objectivity, right? So stylistic, then it's objective. It is scientific. Similarly, there it is rigorous. When you do stylistic analysis, you have to be very much careful. You pay attention, right? That's why it is rigorous. And replicable, because if I told you that if you conduct a research and you come to a conclusion and you have some outcome and someone else conduct research, so he or she will have also the same outcome. So this is replicable, right? It has more in common with other subdiscipline of linguistics. As linguistics, stylistic agree that objectivity and falsibility are keys to any analysis of literary text. Here we have one more definition to stylistics. Stylistics simply defined as the study of style. Then we study style in stylistics, or stylistic deals with the study of style. Is really undertaken for its own sake simply as an exercise in describing what use is made of language. So we study that how language is used. We normally study style because we want to explain something, and in general, literary stylistic has implicitly or explicitly the goal of explaining the relationship between language and artistic function. So when we come towards literary texts, so then we focus that what is the relationship between language and artistic function in a literary text. So the motivation questions are not so much what, as, and why, and how, right? So then the motivation questions are not as much what, as why, and how. So the focus is in why and how. Why such kind of structures are used in this language or literary text, and how such kind of structures are used in a literary text or in a language, rather than what. So then stylistic is not more concerned with what, right? What are the structures? What are the syntactic structures? What are the choice of words? Rather, stylistic is more concerned in a literary text is why and how. Why certain structures are used, why certain structures are preferred over other, and how certain structures are used in a literary text. So this is why and this is how. Now, from the linguistic angle, it is why does the author here choose this form of expression. From the linguistic angle, we see why certain expressions are used by this author. Now, from the literary critic viewpoint, it is how. So, from the linguistic point of view, it is why certain structures are used. And from the literary critic viewpoint, it is how the certain structures are used. So much such and such as an aesthetic effect achieved through language. So from like literary critic point of view, how is important, and from linguistic point of view, why is important, and there is rare concern with what, right? So we don't concern or we don't focus on what, we focus on why and how. Why from linguistic point of view, why certain structures are used or preferred over other, and how from literary critic point of view, that how certain structures are used to create a static effect in this literary text. One more definition, what is stylistics? Stylistic is the study of the way in which meaning is created through language, because all the time meanings are created through language. So we study stylistic in order to understand and in order to know how meaning are created through language in a literary or non-literary text, in literature as well as in other types of texts. Now to this end, statisticians use linguistic model theories and frameworks as their analytical tool in order to describe and explain how and why a text works as it does, and how we come from the words on the page on its meaning. Now, the analysis typically focuses qualitatively or quantitatively. So both possibilities are when you do stylistic analysis, so you can do qualitatively or quantitatively. Or the phonological, lexical, grammatical, semantic, pragmatics, or discursive feature of text on the cognitive aspect involved in the processing of those features by the reader, as well as on the various combination of these. While some stylistic approaches primarily show an interest in the procedure of the text investigating the style of a particular author, some approaches are there where the focus is given on the style of particular author. For instance, some statisticians focus more on the text itself, or some statisticians focus on the text rather than a particular author. Broadly understand to encompass all type of discourse, until other devote their attention to the reader and the role readers play in meaning construction. So some statisticians focus on the style of particular author, while other statistician the focus is on the text, while some are there the focus is on the reader play in the meaning construction, how meaning are constructed when the readers read a text. Now, new development in stylistic emphasize that the production of meaning need to be accounted for the double exercise encompassing as much as text inform, inference, or mental processes that allow text comprehension. What is stylistics once again? Stylistic is often regarded as a linguistic approach to literature. So, stylistic is a linguistic approach to literature. So, you are studying literature through linguistics, and understandably so on, since the majority of stylistic attention so far has been devoted to literary texts. So, you study literature through linguistics. In actual fact, however, the range of discourses that statisticians are currently engaged with has expanded considerably to include non-fictional forms. Traditionally, when we talk about statistics, so what comes in mind? Literature. We study literature or we study literary text through linguistic or language. But currently, that the stylistic or statistician also focus on non-literary text. So here you can see now it is expanded considerably to include non-fictional form such as newspaper, advertising, conversation, and so on. Advertising, academic writing, news report, as well as non-printed form such as TV and pictorial advertising, film, multimodal publication, etc. Now, whether it's based in linguistic, because stylistic has base in linguistic. Stylistic is ideally characterized by the informed, systematic, sorry for inconvenience, retrievable, and usually also contextual analysis, which is rigorous, consistent, and open to falsification. So it is rigorous, very much attentive, and it is replicable. You can again produce the same copy of this, and open to falsification, that you can know that what is right, what is wrong, what is true, what is false. Because of scientific nature of linguistics as composed to other field and the humanity, the stylistic approach to text analysis may seem more objective than other branches of literary criticism. So we have other branches of literary criticism which might not be objective, but stylistic is objective because its nature is linguistic, or it has origin in linguistics. So linguistic is also scientific and stylistic is also scientific. So that's why they say other branches of literary criticism. It is important to note, however, that in spite of statistician concern with rigorous, no stylistic analysis can be totally objective. Even statistician focus that stylistic analysis is objective, it is rigorous and replicable. But it can't be like 100% true, right? We can't say that totally a stylistic analysis of a text is objective, or it is rigorous, or it is replicable. Not possible. To some extent it is objective, or it is more objective than a literary criticism. But we can't say that totally it is objective. This is okay concern. So it is important to note, however, that in spite of statistician concern with rigorous, the stylistic analysis can be totally objective, but it will always be influenced by the merit of factors such as statistician individual preferences and foci, as well as the linguistic paradigm employed for analysis or the chosen methodology. It means that statisticians are also human beings. Sometimes they prefer one thing over other. Sometimes they will take one methodology over other, right? So when they adopt or when they prefer one methodology over other, so it means that they are influenced. And when you are influenced by something else, so you can't remain objective. Then there will be subjectivity. And when we say subjectivity, so then there will be your likes and dislike, your choice of something. So that's why that statisticians are also human beings. So not possible that all the time that it will be 100% or totally objective. Thank you so much. It was all about stylistics, its definition, various definition, meaning, approaches, and the basic concept of stylistics. In coming lecture, we will explain, we will elaborate, and I'll provide you some like the gaps and research area where you can conduct your research. So we will come and we will talk about very interesting more lectures on style and stylistics. So keep watching. Thank you so much.